Orphan to Opulence. The origin and history of Rolex. The most powerful watch brand on Earth. A symbol recognized in every country. A name that commands respect before a single word is spoken. Presidents wear it. Athletes win with it. Billionaires signal status through it. A single object, capable of changing how the world perceives you. But this empire didn't begin with gold. It didn't begin in Switzerland. It didn't begin with privilege. It began with a boy who lost everything. An orphan, with no inheritance, no safety net, no powerful family behind him. Welcome to Logo to Luxury, where we uncover the real origins behind the world's most iconic brands. This is the story of Rolex. This is Orphan to Opulence. If you enjoy cinematic stories about power, prestige, and the psychology behind iconic brands, consider subscribing to Logo to Luxury. We publish deep dives like this every week. The boy who lost everything. The story begins in 1878 in Bavaria, Germany. A boy named Hans Wilsdorf is born into a modest family. Nothing about his early life suggests greatness. No wealth. No elite upbringing. No connections. And then tragedy strikes. By the time Hans is just 12 years old, both of his parents have died. He is alone. No guidance. No fortune. No protection. But instead of breaking him, something inside him sharpens. He becomes disciplined, obsessive, focused. He excels in school and earns a position at a prestigious boarding school where he develops a deep fascination with precision, order, and timekeeping. Eventually, he finds work in the watch industry. And while others see gears and mechanisms, Hans sees something much larger. He realizes watches are not just tools. They are symbols. Symbols of discipline, of punctuality, of character, of power. He becomes obsessed with one question: what if a watch could represent excellence itself? The vision everyone mocked. At the beginning of the 20th century, wristwatches are not taken seriously. They're considered fragile, decorative, something women wear as jewelry. Serious men carry pocket watches. Experts believe wristwatches can never be accurate enough, never durable enough, never respected enough. But Hans disagrees. He believes the future belongs to the wrist. He believes a small, perfectly engineered timepiece could one day replace pocket watches entirely. People laugh at the idea. But Hans is not interested in consensus. He's interested in perfection. So in 1905, at just 24 years old, he moves to London with almost no money and starts a small watch business with his brother-in-law. Their goal isn't to sell cheap watches. Their goal is radical. Create the most precise, reliable, and respected wristwatch in the world. The birth of Rolex. Hans understands something most founders overlook. A great product needs a great name. So in 1908, he invents a word. Short, sharp, memorable, easy to pronounce in any language. Rolex. The name means nothing deliberately, because Hans wants the brand to define the word, not the other way around. Then he does something no one else had the confidence to attempt. He submits a Rolex wristwatch to an official Swiss chronometer testing institute, the gold standard for accuracy. And it passes. Not only does it pass, it receives the highest accuracy certification ever awarded to a wristwatch. Suddenly, wristwatches are no longer toys. And Rolex is no longer just another brand. It is scientifically validated excellence. The watch that survived the ocean. But Hans wants more than precision. He wants indestructibility. At the time, moisture is the enemy of watches. A single splash can ruin the mechanism. So in 1926, Rolex unveils something revolutionary. The Rolex Oyster, the world's first truly waterproof wristwatch. But Hans doesn't rely on claims. He relies on proof. He orchestrates one of the most brilliant marketing moments in luxury history. A British swimmer named Mercedes Gleitzer attempts to swim across the English Channel. Hans gives her a Rolex Oyster to wear around her neck. She swims for over 10 hours in freezing water. When she emerges, exhausted. The watch is still ticking perfectly. The next day, Rolex watches appear in store windows across London. Not on pillows, not on velvet, but submerged inside aquariums. People stop. They stare. They believe. Rolex doesn't just sell watches anymore. Rolex sells trust. Rolex and the psychology of greatness. Hans Wilsdorf understands something deeper than marketing. He understands psychology. People don't aspire to luxury. They aspire to greatness. So Rolex attaches its brand to the world's most extraordinary achievements. When pilots break aviation records, they wear Rolex. When explorers climb Mount Everest, they wear Rolex. When divers descend into the darkest parts of the ocean, they wear Rolex. Rolex becomes present at the edges of human possibility. Not advertising wealth, advertising achievement. Over time, the message becomes clear. Rolex isn't for those who want to look successful. Rolex is for those who are successful. And that perception becomes more powerful than any advertisement. And if you're enjoying this deep dive into how icons are built, you'll find many more stories like this here on Logo to Luxury. From fashion empires to billion-dollar branding strategies, the genius of scarcity. Most brands grow by selling more units. Rolex grows by doing the opposite. They deliberately control supply. They limit production. They restrict availability. Walk into a Rolex boutique and ask for a popular model. You won't be handed one. You'll be told to wait. Months. Sometimes years. But that frustration isn't a flaw. It's the design. Because scarcity transforms desire into obsession. A Rolex isn't something you casually purchase. It's something you pursue. Something you work toward. Something you earn. And that transforms a product into a trophy. The legacy of Hans Wilsdorf. Hans Wilsdorf never forgot where he came from. He never forgot being alone. Never forgot struggle. Never forgot uncertainty. He never had children of his own. And when he passed away in 1960, he made a decision that still shapes Rolex today. He donated the entire company to a charitable foundation. Rolex is not owned by shareholders, not owned by hedge funds, not controlled by billionaires. It is owned by a trust created to protect the long-term integrity of the brand. That's why Rolex never chases trends, never sacrifices quality, never floods the market. Because the company was built not for quarterly profits, but for legacy. Orphan to Opulence. Rolex isn't expensive because of steel. It isn't expensive because of gold. It isn't expensive because of marketing. It's expensive because of what it represents. Time, discipline, patience, achievement, legacy. Behind every Rolex is not just a mechanism, but a philosophy. And behind that philosophy is the story of a boy who had nothing. No privilege, no inheritance, no shortcuts, just vision, just obsession, just belief. An orphan who built the most respected watch brand on earth. If you appreciate stories about ambition, power, and how legends are built, subscribe to Logo to Luxury. This was Rolex. This was Orphan to Opulence.